How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Satisfactory. So a few things to go over. First off, there is not a second RimWorld episode this week. Instead, we're just jumping straight into Satisfactory today on Friday, when it technically normally would have come out, actually. And we made it through the hurricane. So there's that. We fortunately were in an area that we didn't really get too much damage, both flood-wise as well as winds. The only thing of note, at least in our neighborhood, is some shingles knocked off the roof, but nothing major. We had shutters, so none of our windows and things were broken. So we were, again, very, very fortunate for our area. Um, but, but yeah. So we survived that. That was a fun ordeal. Not really. 10 out of 10, don't want to do again, but whatever. In our progress update for Satisfactory, so we've started this building here, which is going to be our smelting, or the smeltery, as I'm kind of thinking it's going to be. Essentially, what we're going to do is, we kind of talked about this last episode, so in the Dune Desert up here, there is a lot of nodes scattered about, but they're not really clustered. There's not really a single, like, oh, these are all iron or these are all copper or whatever. They are very sporadic in where they are. We have one literally right there. We have one over there. Hell, there's even a limestone one in the smeltery. And even if we go over here, there's there's 4 nodes literally right next to each other. So what I've opted to do, and you can kind of see here, is make 3 resource highways and just attach the nodes as close to them as I can, so that way I can kind of remove as much spaghetti from the world as I can, or at the very least use the straight, or like, I guess the right, yeah, I guess it's called the straight, belting path, just so that way we can kind of have as neat of runs as we can. I could try to do the same with the power. And I have these big ones here. And yeah, I know. I could probably get rid of every other one, or even probably every 2 or 3. I'm okay with this expenditure, because then it allows me just to hook up wherever. There's a little bit of... At first I was like, okay, let's only do iron and copper on here. But then... like, well, but there's some nodes I need. Like, I need coal that's down there. That's the real reason this one goes. It extends down and over, and we'll maybe take a look at that. But basically, what we have going on here is these lines here in the middle. Okay, or I'm gonna fall. Fun. These lines here in the middle are for pretty much permanent resources. So we have iron. We have 10 belts on each layer. So we have iron on layers 1 and 2, and potentially 3. And a hyper tube that I built for easy access back to the base. And I'll show you some stuff over there that we did. Oh, and I started using the notes over there on the right hand side just to kind of keep track of things, both so that way when my gopher is playing with me, I can more or less direct him towards things. Just because we're all really new to this, we don't really have an idea, or any idea really what the end game looks like, because this is our first time playing it as well in 1.0. I've played a little bit for background, way back when this game was like even first announced. I remember playing like one of the really early releases that they did, just to kind of test the game. And so definitely from what I've experienced then to now, the game has massively changed, both in terms of detail as well as what you can do. But anyway, so layers 1, 2, and 3 are all going to be iron. Layers 4, probably 4 and 5 are going to be copper. And then anything above that is just probably going to be either limestone or coal. One thing to note is what we did over here is this coal, which is needed for the steel. I just did this sort of design. I just did pillars straight up and then connected it like this. I might eventually detail this a little bit more. And as I was doing this, I kind of thought, you know, I could have done this style as well for that over there and not have had as large of a footprint, because I could have still done power poles on top. But I felt like this is like the smaller version of that, kind of, so to speak. I might eventually detail this, but for now it works. It keeps the belts up off the ground and gets them to where they need to go on that route to the backside. And we'll take a look at that here in a minute as well. These belts on the side, however, these are more temporary, or I say they're temporary, at least I hope they're going to be, but what we have going on is these two here are for steel, and then these four, I haven't run the two up there yet, but these four are eventually going to be, well, the two are that are here, iron, and then the two up there that haven't been made yet are going to be for copper, but I haven't got copper reestablished. So essentially what this place looks like is each one of these is a different amount. They're all Mark III, but they're not a full capacity Mark III. But I have, I know what node is on each of these belts, and so that's why it looks squirrely here, is because I'm pulling enough iron that I need over there, and I'm pulling enough iron that I need over here. So let's go one more. Still working on my design bits a little bit. That eventually is going to look kind of what the roof's going to look like, and it's going to go overhead. We have logistics floor. There's the limestone node I was talking about, but logistics floor here, production floor, and then a bigger logistics floor, and we'll take a look at that here in a second. And then above that, I'm going to have trains when we unlock those, but I'm not sure how I want to design the top yet without fully knowing how spacing is going to work with those, because I don't know if I want to run them from here to there or from short side to short side. I'm not sure yet. But anyway, so between each of these concrete walls here, so there's 1 module, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is enough to consume all of the iron that is in this dune desert at max capacity. So that means 3 power shards as well as Mark III miners on all the nodes. So essentially what we have here is a nice little thing. I built this one. My friend built the steel, and we'll get to that here in a second. He just did a very compact build. I like the ability to space these things out a little bit, because to me this both has function and form. I think it looks a little bit nicer, and it allows me to, if I need to come in here and add like overclocking or something, or somersault loops, I can. But basically how it works is each of these modules has 40 smelters, so that way we can use a Mark VI belt. And then it does have the floor holes here. I couldn't quite get the floor holes up there, but I found in a later build with the steel that I can actually, I think, snag them in up there. And just to look at the production floor, or the logistics floor down here, basically what I'm doing is I'm using these for 1, 2, and 3 layers. I might use some other squirrely things, but basically what we have here is I'm pulling some impure nodes, splitting those into 30s, combining those with pure nodes here, and then being able to get all of it, and then that just gets balanced as such. I did decide to go with the actual balanced approach, so it's distributed evenly versus doing the I'm load balancing instead of just doing a pure I think it's a manifold is what they call it in this. I can't remember the terminology, but I'm load balancing it before it goes in versus filling up the first machine, then the second, then the third. I want it all operating at the same speed. So that's what that's for. And eventually, as we get higher and higher tier belts, this eventually will just be 1 Mark VI belt in instead of 3 or 4 Mark III and 1 Mark II up top. And then, of course, we have enough space for it all. There is a good amount of space down here. Unfortunately, just due to the dune area, because we were building in the rightmost oasis-y area over here, because this is all just one flat layer on the topology map, but it is important to note we are building a little bit here on the dunes. Because of that, I could have tried to use this layer as much as I could. The problem is once you get up here, there's going to be, and especially over there, there's just so much clipping that trying to build in it would be just too much of a hassle, in my opinion, that just opting for doing something like that, at least in my mind, just makes more sense. Ladders architecture, and we've pretty much done a good number of ticket research because I used the quartz that is up over here to generate tickets, because I just have those going in, and then while we've been working on this, I've just been having our other production going. Then take a look at steel, same idea down here. But my friend, my gopher, doesn't really like to use logistics floors. Don't know why, but his mentality comes from let me make it compact and functional. So he didn't really use the bottom, even though I told him he has a logistics floor below and above for him to use. He chose not to use them, which is fine. It works. It just means we can't access the foundries. Now, the foundry design here is not designed for this. Will produce 900 steel based on the regular recipe. We haven't unlocked the alternate yet. We haven't gotten it, unfortunately, in our hard drives, but we'll keep hunting for it. So it works in essentially 3 segments of 6, and it produces 900 total. We're taking 2 of those and putting it back to the main base, and one of them currently isn't being used. It's not fully hooked up. I technically can hook up this coal, and that will actually start getting part of it working, but we'll do that here in a little bit. I won't do that off camera. Anyway, so this doesn't really take advantage of the logistic floor above or below. That's fine. I'll leave it as is. There are 20 foundries in here because it's about 1 foundry foundation size for 2 smelters, so it's about half as many foundries to smelters is roughly what it is. I may or may not play around with the design to try to get it up to a Mark 6 input-output, but I just think space-wise we don't have it in here. But we'll see. And once we get some alternative recipes, the design in there is probably going to change. But for the most part, this smelting facility is only going to handle just this region, because other regions I'm going to do similar setups. I might do like regional like biome things, so I might do one in the south, one in the northwest, and do those. I have looked at smelting at mining, but I don't know how I feel about it just yet. We have torn down most of the old production facilities here. I haven't removed any of the containers there yet, or those power grids, but for the most part I have removed them here. I do want to add lights because this is quite dark actually. We're trying to snake things as nicely as we can to remove any spaghetti as we go. Here I made the entrance a little bit nicer. This building, I'm not really sure what I want to do with it yet. And we kind of talked about that last episode, is world grid versus local grid. I want to do as much local grid building as I can. Anything that's involving big distances I want on the world grid. So like for instance, train lines or highway runs, I want those to be on the world grid. Same thing with our little resource bus here. That I want on the world grid just to make things easier over bigger distances. But things on small scale, like I'm okay with trying to branch off of this to this using something like that. It does look weird at intersections like this where you have local buildings lining up nicely with the terrain, but then something like this just jetting out. Haven't quite figured out a good way to balance it. In case anybody's wondering, the hypertube there doesn't fully work, and then these pipes aren't necessarily allocated for anything, because then they're just there more for decoration, honestly. Anyway, so this building doesn't really have a great purpose right now, because we have like our sink here, and some of our early resource production here, or at least these 8 items. But like, for instance, we've pulled out all the iron smelters from this side, and I have to finish pulling out all the logistics floor. And the same thing with the copper smelting, but I haven't done that yet. I did replace the walkway up and down with our nice little architecture. It looks nicer than the ramps, at least. And we have a bunch of storage here that we've been temporarily using. I think what I'm going to have my friend Gopher turn this into is our storage warehouse, where we're going to have all of our items so we can get easy access to them when we're here. We can get the dimensional depot. That is, I don't think I have the man in here. That is an option. I'm not entirely sure how it works. I do know it's similar to applied energistics from Minecraft, and that we can access our inventories essentially from anywhere and be able to dump things from our inventory just about anywhere. Another logistics floor, but this floor isn't useless, because this is where we can pipe in those ingots from over there and bring them into the factory. And of course that just produces our items here, and I don't think anything's changed up here now, other than just our rotors and plates here. So to take a look down here, made a little bridge. It's not super fancy, but I figured I'd spice it up a little bit. It allows us to have things, so like some outbound. I know like we have copper, there's an iron, and there's some other stuff over there. So some outbound stuff to go join the resource highway, and then some inbound stuff. So like the steel ingots are able to go here. And then, so box design with some niceness to my attempt at an improved architectural kind of design. So I have kind of these pillars, just giving us reference to things. This coal head obviously still needs to get rerouted. Limestone here for our concrete production is still there. Our inputs go here, so I'll probably put limestone here so we can make those structural beams and whatnot. And basically we can go in here. Again, a nice little detail. And then storage here. And then this is, of course, an industrial container that we have clipping down. And then it can take things in. Sorry, we have some pipe and then some beam being produced because I manually fit in some ore to get it working. And how it works here is right now we have enough steel ingots coming over to make 6 machines of beam and 6 machines of pipe. And then, of course, there is enough space here to add 2 more additional, so 8 total of each run. And then this is my friend's leftover build that I've been slowly deconstructing. So this was more construction. And then this would make the encased beams, which we have a full container of. And we'll slowly replace that. One of the things, as I mentioned, I want to try to build more with the terrain. So I'm going to have the building wrap diagonal and try to follow this as much as I can. As you can see, just have it go. And then kind of follow the water. I didn't want to get it too close to the piping over here, just because, as you can see, one of them, the pipe, is on the world grid here. At least I'm pretty sure it's on the world grid. Yeah. And then this side is not on the world grid, so of course those were going to cause 2 issues. Another problem here is we do have an iron node, so we are going to have to leave a hole for the miner there, and then eventually deal with that as a byproduct of things. Okay, well, momentum. Thank you. Forgot to pick up these. Apparently we haven't ever picked up patchers.
Samples of unknown alien species acquired. It is unclear where on the flora or fauna spectrum it lies, but initial data suggests this might be a nest or an egg.
Aw,
Research the remains in the mound to establish classification and potential countermeasures.
And then we are still working towards getting phase 2 going. I haven't made any progress on phase 2 mainly because I've been reworking this and doing the smelting, so that way we can kind of scale things up without having to deal with as much spaghetti. Power hasn't changed, the Caterium smelting setup over here hasn't changed. I don't know if I'm going to have Caterium be processed at the smelting facility or not, or just do something like this where I have the mine relatively close to where it's being smelted and or processed. Because then from here, what I can do is, if I wanted to, I can route it over where it's needed in our facility. My plans for this building that's going to be here is probably have... So I'm going to have this probably go up to about up there with the mountains, because I do want it to get it quite high up there. Because I do want this to be our main base. So this first floor is going to probably handle steel production. And then I'm not sure how tall we're going to go in terms of like floor, like functional floors. But we'll kind of go through that as we design it. It's going to probably function pretty organically. At least as we go through. Some of our storage is here, at least the steel products will be here. But I'm thinking actual storage and stuff will be over there. What we can probably end up doing, and this is for now that this is here, but eventually what we can do is have a logistics not bypass, but like a bridge, kind of like a sky bridge, like walkway from here to there, and just have these products go over there. But what I'm doing for the logistics is so the outputs, or the inputs go in, they go down. Inputs come up, or outputs come up, go in, and they go. There's some clipping we're doing here, so that way we can kind of fit everything a little bit neater. And I'm okay with clipping like this because I think it looks fine. It's not necessarily breaking anything. It's not bad clipping. I'm sure some people would find it distasteful, but I don't find it too bad. Here we're using smart splitters just so that way our priority is to fill our storage tanks first so we can use those items, and then any overflow I want to go to the next production line. So like more advanced products that use steel beams, I want to take a second so that way we can use steel beams, send them there first, and then send to the next advanced item. Same thing with steel pipes, and that's just so that way we can use them as needed. And of course we have a decent bit of production room here that we can utilize, which is going to be nice for as we get more and more advanced. my goal, hopefully, for this week is to try to get phase 2 complete. We can make smart plating right now, and I believe the versatile beams aren't too terrible. I don't know if I have what I need to be able to make a assembler or not. Oh no, I do. Cool. To make these, yeah, I mean, okay, we can make those right now, actually. So the automated wiring. So we'll probably go ahead and start doing that production then. That's not bad. Oh, that's really not bad. It saves us on screws. Okay. Anyway. I found a spider cave with some of the sand ore, and then we've gotten power slugs. Not really enough to utilize anywhere. We'll probably start getting those into the miner soon. Power's still the same. We do need to actually build more power, because if we take a look here, there's quite a bit that's going on. Okay, well, this isn't hooked up apparently, but this over here is. Let me take a look at the power. Oh, I forgot. Those don't have a switch. Over here. Where's the power pole? Right here. Okay, if we take a look at power, we can produce 2400, which is just barely, I mean just barely above what we actually need. At max consumption, we're barely consuming anything because most of the factory is off right now. And I know a lot of people do, like, at least while they're building out in the early to mid game, to have their factories idle. At least at points where it makes sense, because I know if you're working towards getting tickets to get all of your awesome sauce stuff, like we did, we've pretty much gotten all of them now, just through passive work. Like some of them, like these, we didn't get. That we haven't gotten. We didn't get any of the patterns because I haven't used them. I'm sure there are places. Oh, there's roofs we can get. That is very pog. I'm gonna have to get that. Most of the walls, most of the architecture, because I want to have different materials to try to build stuff with. And then of course the materials we can get access to here. Yeah. Just because like our starting stuff like that, I don't mind. I think that looks fine. But like this doesn't really have a roof, and it's using those walls. The tiles kind of look bad. And this is an improvement, but I don't really have a style for anything yet, as you can tell. Everything just kind of looks blocky. Like that I try to make a little bit different. And then this, of course, looks okay. It's not great. But yeah, we haven't made any progress over there just yet, or we're going to do smart plating. I've been kind of waiting on doing it. I think what we're going to do for the smart plating is I might do a bootstrap setup over there on the roof. Passively get them built while I build the versatile framework as well as the other automated wiring in our steel mill / main base. And then once we get trains functioning over here, because my goal is to get a train running probably all the way around the desert here first. That will be our first loop, and then we'll branch off of it as we expand into the map. And then have the iron, basically ironing its go over here, and then have some other things. I have thought about utilizing this little stretch of highway that we did build, but I think now that I have some more resources, I might want to make this a little bit more compact, because right now I believe it's 9 foundations wide, and I saw a design that, if we go down here, that I can probably get away with, where it's like, oh, what was it? I think it wasn't 3 foundations wide, but I think it was about 6 foundations wide. So going from 9 to 6 is a lot better, but essentially all it does is it utilized the kind of height system, or it was like it had basically an underpass, or kind of like the Brooklyn Bridge, where it was then something like I don't know, something like that, where basically you had a layer on the bottom and then you had a layer on top that allowed you to have kind of a double decker. So you could essentially fit more in less space. So that might be something we do, that we design. Not really sure yet, because like I want to use all the different modes of transportation. So I want to use belts for things. I want to use trucks in the vehicle system, and I want to use trains. But it's how do I integrate them all into our factory so that they make sense without being either useless or just not really fitting in place. Things like this make sense to me for belting, because I know these things are always going to be going to this smelting factory. Like, these items, these ores, aren't ever, for the most part, or at least for now, aren't ever going anywhere else on the map. So for me, having them be belted is just as good as having them trucked, but I have a lot more consistency with them versus the trucks, because the trucks require, I have to think of like timing. I have to try to figure out, okay, well, how many trucks do I need from this particular miner, because this one is in the middle of the smeltery. So like, I don't necessarily need a truck for it to go from here to an assembler or something that's right here. Like, that just wouldn't make sense. But belting it is fine. For the further out mines that are like way over here, okay, well, it might make sense for me to truck it, but then I have to try to coordinate 50 different trucks between all these 50 different stations, and that just doesn't make sense. So belting things here makes sense. The truck from that corner of the map to power, yeah, I probably could have belted that, especially if I'm already belting things this far. But I just wanted to play around with the truck a little bit and kind of experiment with what I'm thinking for the highway design. I'm not entirely sure if trucks will stay permanently in my builds. I would like them to, because again, I want to try to utilize them in the base, but we'll see. As we get to the higher tiers and expand out of this biome, we're more than definitely going to both be utilizing trains a lot more. So I'm not really quite sure where we're going to put those. What I might end up doing is, because I do know over here, this, we very well might change something where we decide, okay, well, let's maybe have the trucks transport ingots from the smeltery to over there. But again, belts, it's a finite thing. Smart plating, maybe. I don't know, I'll have to just see where it might make sense. Definitely leave down below where you guys utilize your trucks, tractors, and other autonomous vehicles versus trains versus belt. Like, where do you kind of draw that line for when deciding where, like, how to get ore from a mine to a smelter versus, okay, well, how do I get an ingot from a smelter to an assembler or a constructor, or an intermittent product to a constructor, right? So definitely leave that down below, kind of where you guys draw those sorts of lines for yourselves, or do you just skip certain things altogether? I mean, you don't have to use any one specifically, right? I suppose you could handcraft most everything by just feeding the assembler yourself, or feeding the constructor yourself, or maybe you just decide, okay, well, I'm going to belt everything. I don't need automatic transportation. Like, this would be perfectly fine if you just had stagnant runs that didn't really change. The only time that I see having automatic transportation, whether it's a train or a tractor, I mean, I guess more so trains at least. I don't know how it 100% works in this versus something like Factorio, but like if I'm building, like expanding my base, throw down a factory. Oh, I need iron? Cool, let me just add it to the train stop. Now iron trains are going to start showing up. I don't have to do anything with the transportation network. It's already established. I might have to add a few more trains to the overall network, but I don't actually have to change anything at the grand level. It just allows expanding a lot easier. But if you're not really expanding in that sort of way that requires distant products, then maybe you don't really use trains or tractors at all. But yeah, definitely let me know down below kind of your guys' thoughts on that. If there's something I missed, that you saw in the video or something I mentioned that I didn't actually go to and show you, definitely let me know down below, and I'll make sure to cover that in the next video. But on that, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's update, both for the hurricane as well as just the world and kind of what's been going on. On that, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did, you guys know, smash the like button if you haven't done so already. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a good one, and peace out.